supported every progressive campaign on the left, supported the Defend the Link, opposed to all privatisations and campaigning on renationalisation, and made public statements in particular around rail. Nancy Platts.
Thank you. Can you all hear me okay? My voice did used to be as loud as Manuel's, but after a few days it's disappeared. He doesn't even need a mic. Thank you for inviting me tonight. I was a bit late coming because I've just come from the C&D meeting where I made a commitment never to vote for the renewal of Trident. And what I've learned is some of my members can run faster than I can because they're already sitting in the audience before I got here. As well as talking a little bit about Labour policies, I wanted to tell you a bit about myself because I've got a bit of an issue about how people are getting into Parliament and the background of people. And I think we should understand a bit more about people's motivations sometimes for getting involved in politics. You know, we know that this government is targeting the poorest and most vulnerable in our communities. And it hits home to me because I grew up in a working class family in South London. And like many families in my area, there wasn't a lot of money to go around at the time. It wasn't always possible to have a holiday or new clothes. And I remember at one occasion having to have my school uniform as a bit of my Christmas present. And my parents taught me that education was the route to a better life. So I stayed on at school until 18, but they couldn't afford for me to go to university. And I was really lucky because in those days, which was back in the 80s, I went to work in the public sector for the London Fire Brigade. And then the public sector used to help pay for education. And I remember at the GLC, Ken Livingstone had a policy that if people joined at 16 or 18, they would get backing for education in order to improve their skills and qualifications. And of course, all of that is gone now. And that is one of the damaging cuts that we've lost from the public sector that I would like to see come back. And I think it's a disgrace in the 21st century that we have got in Brighton Kemp Town and Peacehaven, where I'm standing, a third of our children living in poverty, and in 2 areas of Brighton, nearly half of our children live in poverty. And when I've campaigned, I've always sought to engage people on the ground, and I'm a big supporter of community campaigning. I go back to the days when Manuel and I worked together at the TSSA, and Manuel was an organiser, and it was all about getting into the workplace and organising on the ground, because if you don't organise on the ground and bring people with you, you're not going to get policies through. You know, we have got a lot of top-down policies, and it's time that we engage the membership more and we address the democratic deficit that is around in the Labour Party on policies, and those policies start to come from the grassroots up, because as Manuel quite rightly said, I don't know anyone that would vote for privatisation of the railway, but I know a lot of people that would like to see it back in public ownership, and fares that are affordable again, so it's not taking such a massive chunk out of their wages every month. And you know, some of the things I've campaigned for have been around affordable childcare so that parents can get back to work. I was one of the leaders of the campaign to get a children's centre in every community. Those children's centres, which are now closing, we've just seen one close in Peacehaven, which is a Tory-run authority. And a young man of about 19 said to me he's got a small child and now his partner can't afford to go back to work. So they're people that have to adjust their living standards in order to look after their child. One of the other things that I'm proud to set up, but also very sad that I had to set up, was the Fuel Poverty Coalition. That's still going now, and we will see again this winter people having to choose between eating and heating their homes. And again, that's a national disgrace in the 21st century. As John mentioned, in the trade union movement, I campaigned for the public ownership of the railways and to keep the London Underground in public ownership. Yeah, and we had some minor successes, I think, getting the rail track back as a not-for-profit organisation, but I would like to see us go much further. And as part of that, you know, I want to make very clear my position about the trade union movement and that link. I was very proud to be supported by Unite, TSSA and the Junior Union to stand for selection. There is no way that I want to see the trade union link broken. If it was not for the trade union movement, I wouldn't have been able to stand last time around, and I certainly would not have been able to stand this time around. So I want to say a big thank you to Manuel and TSSA and to the other trade unions for supporting me. And I think we need to get out there and defend that link. That is how we get our policies coming from the grassroots upwards. That's our connection with working people, and we have to keep it. What I want to see the Labour government do in the future is plan for growth. I want to see investment to create jobs. I want to see that led by a massive house building programme. I want to see us have more council housing and more social housing. I want a green investment bank. I want a living wage so that people can have dignity at work, and I want that to be an equal living wage for young people as well. A national care service so that we can integrate health and social care, cheaper rail and bus fares, and I want to see us address the balance of power in the workplace in favour of working with people, in favour of working people, and starting with a ban on 0 hours contracts. I want to be really clear, it's not enough just to say that we have to stop the abuse of 0 hour contracts. We have to see them banned. I've spoken to countless young people who tell me they just not only can't get full-time work, they can't even get part-time work. They don't know how much work they're going to get from week to week. How on earth do we expect them to be able to afford somewhere to live? You can't turn around to your utility company, your energy company, or your landlord and say, I'm sorry, I can't pay up this week because I haven't really earned enough money. You just get thrown out of your home, or you just get cut off. You know, we have to make sure that we defend the right of working people to have a living wage from 1 week to the next and to know what hours they're going to work. And finally, I mentioned Trident earlier. I don't think renewing Trident is a higher priority than taking care of sick or disabled people. And we've got tens of billions of pounds of uncollected or avoided taxes that we could claim. And we should be looking at bringing that into the Treasury instead of sacking tax collectors and pointing the finger at people on benefits. It's a scandal that this government have given a tax break to millionaires. We've got to rebuild trust in politics. And as I said, part of that, I think, is about getting more working people into politics. We've got a lot of Oxbridge graduates in there at the moment. Now, that's fine if you can get into Oxford and you can get involved in politics in that way, but we have lost touch with a lot of people that are out there that would be our natural voters, that would be our core supporters. We've got to ask ourselves, how do we get them into politics? How do we get them into the Labour Party? The bulk of them we could bring in through the trade union movement, but it's also got to be about getting out there and talking to people on the streets, on street stalls, knocking on doors and so on. And it's got to be about listening and addressing their concerns. I hope I'm starting some of that process this week. We've got a local nurse, one of our local members, Gladys, who's going to be talking about health on the platform with the shadow health ministers. We've also got Judith, who's a social worker, who's a local Kemp Town member. He's going to be speaking at a fringe event. And I see that as just the start. You know, I want to see people in this audience now as well getting involved in the debate and speaking on platforms too. You know, the people on this platform have already got a record of achievement. I'm really proud to be speaking on the same platform as everyone here today. But for me and others, we need to show that Labour Party representatives are not the same and that we can genuinely represent people in Parliament. And if elected, that's what I will do. And it'd be great if you could find time to come down and campaign with me in Brighton Kemp Town between now and 2015. Thank you for giving me your time this evening.